In sports, there's always one moment people talk about for the rest of their lives, not the whole game. One play, 1 second where everything that was going to happen happened. The pass that should have been caught, the save nobody saw coming, the clock that ran out before the shot left his hand. We remember those moments because they're cruel. 90 minutes of effort, decided by a single instant. Now I want you to imagine that the global economy is one of those games. Trillions of dollars moving every day. Pensions, payrolls, the card you tapped this morning for coffee, all of it. A stadium so big you can't see the edges. And it's all riding on one play. One line of code written before the moon landing, still running tonight. This video is about the second that decides the game. And the strangest part isn't that the line exists, it's that almost nobody left knows how to read it. Here's the scale, so you feel the weight of the play. Right now, in production, meaning live, doing real work, this very second there is, by the most cited estimates, somewhere in the hundreds of billions of lines of this old code running the financial world. Nobody agrees on the exact figure, and that's part of the point. No one fully knows how much of it is out there. Not in a museum, not in a backup, running. When you swipe a card at an ATM, the odds are overwhelming, around 95%, that the transaction touches one of these systems before it says approved. Roughly $3 trillion of commerce moves across them every single day. These systems were built to do one thing and do it without blinking. Keep the score. Who has what? Who is owed what? Who gets paid on the first of the month? They have been keeping that score accurately for half a century. That's the part the headlines miss. People love to say this code is broken or ancient junk. It isn't broken. It's the most reliable thing in the building. It has outlived the companies that wrote it, the hardware it was born on, and most of the engineers who touched it. And that's exactly the problem. Because a machine that never fails teaches everyone around it to stop paying attention. Why would you study the thing that has never let you down? Why would you replace the one player who has never missed a single shot in 50 years? So the stadium fills, the bets get bigger, the money riding on the play grows every year. And the player who keeps the score gets older and older, and there's no one warming up on the bench. Let me tell you who actually keeps the score. Not a system, a person. The people who maintain this code today are, on average, in their late 50s. Every year, roughly 1 in 10 of them retires. They don't get replaced one for one, because the schools mostly stopped teaching this. The new graduates want to build apps, not babysit a ledger from 1968. So here's what really happens inside these institutions, and it's stranger than any bug. The knowledge doesn't live in a manual. It lives in one person's head. There's a man, let's say there's a man, because there usually is, who has worked at the same bank for 30 years. He knows why a certain calculation runs at 2 a.m. and not 3. He knows that if you touch one specific routine, the whole night batch falls over, and he knows why, and the reason was never written down because the reason was him. And one day he retires, and the bank realizes, far too late, that the most important piece of infrastructure they own was never the mainframe. It was him. And he's gone fishing. And it's not one man at one bank. It's a CIO in New Jersey, a payroll director in Ohio, a night operator in Texas, the same quiet gap, repeating in building after building, each one assuming the others have it handled. None of them do. This isn't a hypothetical. In 2020, when the world stopped, the state of New Jersey's unemployment system was suddenly hit with around 362,000 new claims in roughly 2 weeks. The system buckled, not because the code was wrong, but because the people who understood it had aged out years before. The governor of New Jersey, in a live press conference, did something almost unbelievable for a head of state in the 21st century. He publicly begged for volunteers who knew this old language, out loud, on camera. And here's the detail that should keep you up at night. Some of the people who answered the call weren't current employees. They were retirees. There's a loose network of them. Call them the old guard. The ones who get phoned when everything is on fire. A roster of a few hundred specialists, some of them well past 70, pulled back in like a seance. They don't come cheap. These are paid consultants now, not volunteers. And the rate goes up the more desperate you are. Not to add features, just to keep the score from disappearing. Think about what that means. The most modern economy in human history, the one running on AI and instant everything, has an emergency plan that boils down to call the people who were supposed to be retired and hope they pick up and can still bill you for it. That's the relief pitcher, and he's 80, and there's no one behind him. So you'd think the answer is obvious. Just replace it. Rewrite the old system in something modern, train new people, retire the risk along with the engineer. Every executive who has ever looked at this has thought exactly that. And then almost every one of them has quietly decided, not on my watch, because here is the trap, and it's beautiful in the worst way. The system cannot stop. Not for a weekend, not for an hour. There is no maintenance window when you can take the world's pensions offline and swap the engine. It's open heart surgery on a patient who is awake, running a marathon, and cannot be put to sleep. So firms make a choice that looks insane from the outside and perfectly rational from the inside. They pay enormous amounts of money every year forever to maintain the old system rather than risk replacing it. They're not paying for progress. They're paying for the privilege of not finding out what breaks. It's the most expensive kind of fear there is. Fear with a budget line. And the fear is earned. Let me show you what happens when someone is finally brave or reckless enough to attempt the migration. In 2018, a bank in the UK decided to move its customers off an old system onto a new platform. A planned migration. Months of preparation. The weekend it went live, it went wrong. Around 1.9 million of its 5.2 million customers locked out of their own accounts. People couldn't pay bills, couldn't see their balances. Some saw other people's money in their accounts. The cleanup cost the bank somewhere around £330 million. The regulator later fined them roughly £48.6 million on top of that. One migration, one weekend, hundreds of millions of pounds, and a brand burned into a cautionary tale. Now multiply that fear across every bank, every pension fund, every government that runs one of these systems. Every single one of them looked at a story like that and concluded, the old player may be 80, but at least he never drops the ball. The rookie? The rookie just lost us 1,900,000 customers in a weekend. So the world chooses to age in place. It chooses to keep the score with a hand that's getting shakier every year, because the one time we tried to hand the pen to someone else, the ink went everywhere. This is the quiet tragedy underneath the whole thing. The reason we don't fix it isn't stupidity. It's that fixing it is genuinely, terrifyingly dangerous. And not fixing it is also dangerous. There is no safe move. There is only the play and the clock. And remember what the play actually rests on. Not the code. The code is fine. It rests on whether anyone left still knows how to read it. Hold on to that, because in a few minutes, it's going to matter more than any number on this screen. So let's run the play. The one that decides the game. It's 2 a.m. somewhere. The markets are closed. The city is asleep. And in a cold room, the night batch begins. The routine that does the boring, sacred work of the day. Reconciling accounts, applying interest, calculating what every pension owes every person who is counting on it. For 50 years, this play has been made the same way. The score gets kept. The sun comes up, nobody notices because nobody is supposed to notice. That's what good infrastructure is. It's the thing you never have to think about. But tonight, one of two things is true. Either the engineer who understood this routine is still alive, still reachable, still willing to pick up the phone at 2 a.m., or he isn't. And that's the whole game. That's the second everything hangs on. Not whether the code is good, the code is fine, the code will do exactly what it was told to do in 1968. The question is whether anyone still understands what it was told. Because if that one line hits a case nobody anticipated, a date it was never designed to see, a number larger than its makers imagined, it will not crash with a dramatic alarm. It will do something far quieter and far worse. It will keep the score wrong, calmly, confidently, at scale. And by the time the sun comes up and people reach for their accounts, the freeze isn't in the machine. The freeze is in the moment everyone realizes the one person who could have caught it isn't on the field anymore. That's the play. That's the second. And we've been letting it ride for 50 years, hoping the clock never runs out while the bench is empty. I'll be honest about why this one gets under my skin. It's not the age of the code. Old isn't the enemy. Plenty of old things work better than the new ones. What unsettles me is how comfortable we've gotten standing on something we no longer understand, and how we keep telling ourselves it's fine because it hasn't broken yet. That's not safety. That's just luck wearing a suit. And here's the part that flips the whole story. We are terrified of the 1968 line because we can't fully read it anymore. Fair enough. But at least that code is honest. It does the same thing every time. It was written slowly, by people who had to understand every word, because there was no one to bail them out. The code we're writing right now is different, faster, cheaper, generated in seconds, by tools that don't understand it any better than we do. We are building tomorrow's 2 a.m. emergency at a speed the old engineers could never have dreamed of. And we're not even keeping the one person who understood it. We never understood it to begin with. The 1968 line is the fear we know. It's the old play. The real-time bomb is the code being written today, by machines at a pace no human can fully audit. If the idea of standing on code nobody understands made you uneasy, good, because that fear is about to get a lot worse and a lot faster. I made an entire video on the next freeze, the one we're building right now, on purpose, at scale. It's called The AI Code Debt Bomb is About to Explode. If tonight's 2 a.m. play scared you, that one will keep you up. Watch it next. The clock's already running.